Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the I Love Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine, and today we are welcomed by fellow podcaster, the host of the Wombreezy Wrestling Podcast. How are we doing, my friend?
I'm not good. I'm not bad, man. What about yourself? I know you mentioned before we went on. You've been up 20 odd hours. Dedication. I like it.
Yeah, it's been a wild one. Yesterday, as we record this, recorded an interview with the Hardys, recorded an interview with DDP, did a live stream, and then worked all night doing some snow. And now we're here with you, and I'm excited. You had me on yours. I figured it was only right to return the favor. Um, with that said, you gave me plenty of opportunity to plug all my stuff. Go ahead and let the fans know where they can check out your podcast and socials to stay up to date.
So you can find me at obviously trying to think now X and Facebook and YouTube at Wombreezy, and that's pretty much it. Mostly everything goes on X. That's where I promote my stuff, but Wombreezy on YouTube. But my work now comes under bodyslam.net, which is I am a contributor to, which is I'm very happy for that.
That's something I'm actually very interested to talk about. Right after our chat, I'm pretty sure that came to fruition. How does it work becoming a contributor for Body Slam, and what does that really entail for yourself and the podcast?
So, good question actually. So, I was in talks with the Body Slam. I want to say owner, like throughout mid last year, all the way up to back end of the year, and it was
Mhm.
just timings. Do you know they always say like you got to let the stars align and stuff like that. And then I was finishing up my. I'm gonna call it like I'm not an independent wrestler, but you know, like where you finish up your day, I guess.
There.
So that, and then all of a sudden January comes, we're speaking, and then I get added to the group chat. Do you know I'm using their StreamYard, I'm using some some of their networks, and pretty much my work that I do now comes under them. So it's like we'll do review shows. I've not started them yet, but I've just recently had 2 episodes go up. Joe Lando and AEW / Ring of Honor star Billy Starks, which is I was grateful. The Billy Starks one literally went up like 40 minutes ago. I don't know when this goes out, but 40 minutes ago. So that
Okay.
was quite interesting. And Billy was amazing. So how it would work is it goes on their channel, and then because obviously I have my own channel as well, it will go up on mine a few days later. But Body Slam is where my work comes under now, and do you know what? I think the guys and girls at Body Slam put in so much of a time and effort to make Body Slam what it is. It's incredible people. Cass has been nothing but great and mentor and helped me with a few things. I'm looking forward to what the year brings for Body Slam. I'm just gonna say like stay tuned for that.
Okay. So, I mean, with that said, I was before we got on here, I was just kind of going through your catalog and your history, especially on YouTube, just to get a fundamental, like when you started, who are some of the guests you've had. Um, so, from the looks of it, you started about 2 years ago, if that's
Yeah,
correct.
I will say 20. It's weird. I started in May 23,
May of
but
23.
I did like the odd episode throughout 2023, and then early 2024, I said I'm going to do a full year,
Okay.
and then
What
that full year transformed to where we are now.
what sparked the idea in the first place?
So I did a review show on a promotion called 1PW with my friend and now co-host Liam, who hosts the show Magic of Wrestling. And I got like a little bug because talking about a show, giving your feedback, giving your opinions, it was nice to have that discussion with a fellow wrestling fan. Whether I could do that with you, Adam from Hit the Turnbuckle, the Magic of Wrestling. I like talking wrestling. We all love it. We all have different opinions, and it's nice to hear what other people thought. So when we went to the show, I think it was like an hour and 20 minutes. I was on there and I was just talking, and I was like, people do this, but virtually. And I was like, do you know what? I could probably have a go at this. And then I did that, and then I reached out to a few wrestlers, because I had an idea, and he's trying to find the right wrestler to start you and help you out. And if you look at my first ever episode that I did with independent star Alex Zane, who's amazing, by the way, I appreciate him for giving me that opportunity. I think he was like 30 minutes, and I look back at that now and I think that's shit. Sorry for my French, but that was rubbish. But at first I was like, do you know what? This is really good. And then I kept it coming. I had Doug Basham, Bobby Fish. I had a few independent talents, in the UK, and my most notable, I think the one that helped me was Jacob Fatu. That's what gave me the drive to keep doing it.
Okay. What about the Jacob Fatu one really made it click for you?
Apart from me being a really big fan of his, it's just how down to earth he is, and he's very family oriented. And it was just that 30 minutes I had with him, or 35 minutes, it went so quick, and the conversation just flowing like it is now, bounced off each other, and I found out he's Mount Rushmore, which we all like to know what other wrestlers Mount Rushmore is, and I'm just a really big fan of his, and it's just the timings against, like I said earlier, it's stars aligned. He left MLW. He did a little bit of a run with Zilla Fatu on the Independents, who had been a tag team with him. Then a month later, he signed to WWE.
Yep.
And if you look on YouTube, and he even said this, there's not many interviews that he's done virtually, or even interviews on YouTube. There's a few, but there's not like Little Baby Me, if you know what I mean. A little podcast from the UK, where most of them are like Muscleman Malcolm or wrestling promotions and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's really cool because, like, just thinking about my experience, I guess, I started off the same way. I got Pondo on. That was my first wrestling one. And, like, looking back now, I hate it. I think it was terrible. I actually just messaged Pondo the other day. I want to get him back on to kind of fix. I've gone back with some of my earlier ones and was like, hey, I made a lot of mistakes doing these. Can we fix them? And Pondo's going to do it. He's got a match with another wrestler that I've had on. He's probably my only 4-time guest. His name's Jamie Jamison. He's got a match with him coming up. And I told him after that we'd come on and do another one. He's down. But speaking of like Jacob Fatu and kind of realizing it clicks, it made me realize that for me, that was probably EC3. Like I had EC3 on, and it was crazy because going in, I kind of like from watching other interviews and from hearing whatever you hear online, you'd assume EC3 is an ass, just to put it plainly. Like you'd assume he's just not a. And honestly, we talked like 20 minutes before it. He like asked me a bunch of questions, got to know me kind of, which I thought was really interesting. And then we did the interview, which was an hour. And then afterwards, we talked for about another hour. And just EC3 giving me like 2 hours of his time, 2.5 hours of his time was insane. And just realizing that they're people and that they like somebody like EC3 really helped me, gave me a lot of advice, and it took a lot of the nerves away, which was really cool. For you, I get asked this question all the time, and my answer is always the Hardys, who I'm fortunate to have twice now. But who's been your favorite interview, or who do you think's been the one that's clicked the most? Is it Jacob, or is it any other ones in the catalog?
Probably 3 that speak to mind.
Okay.
Jacob will always be first, unless someone comes along and drastically changes my mind. But I've been very fortunate to talk to some incredible people. even before the camera, like you, I've had one female on, but before she joined the link, and then quickly doing her makeup, and then we were just talking, and it's like we are now. It's just incredible. And then I had time after. That really puts people up, separates people from like who you think finishes the episode and then wants to just quickly go.
Yeah.
That it stands out and it's noted. But for me, I'd probably say the Brian Cage.
Mm,
I'd say Nigel McGuinness and Jacob Fatu.
I like it. It's cool you say that though. Like speaking of just like people talking before and after, it's like even like yesterday, most recent, I had Dallas Page on Diamond Dallas Page, and Dallas before we talked a little bit, and then afterwards, it's kind of funny because it required some editing because Dallas would just he went right in from the end of the interview into asking me questions and like he gave me a strict like, hey, I got like 45 minutes. I'm busy. I got 45 minutes. And we talked a little bit over that because Dallas is a little long winded, which I love him for. But afterwards, he gives me advice, not only on like wrestling, like podcasting and talking, but like in life, like because he asked me just some personal things and trying to help, which taking that time is just it really like I think changes how we perceive them because obviously we see them
Yeah,
as larger than life. And I told him that even getting on there, like I watched him growing up. Like my dad showed me WCW. And then like growing up watching him do everything he's done with like DDP yoga and stuff like that. It's been pretty much really inspiring. So like having somebody like him take time to give me the time of day is crazy. And I think that might be the most fun part about our job or our um, passion, I guess. What do you think?
yeah, I'd agree with you. I'd agree with you on that. And it's like you obviously, yeah. Your dad showed you WCW clips, video like films of, so for example, DDP. Uh, you could have Scott Steiner, Buff Bagwell. Do you know what I mean? There's all these people that are very larger than life from the late 90s, early 2000s, which you are now watching and having the opportunity to interview them. It's like me. I grew up watching Brian Cage in TNA. Do you know when he was doing it with Sammy Callahan and stuff like that? Who else have I had on? Zilla Fatu. I watched his dad,
Yeah.
and
I was scared of his dad as a kid.
yeah, I've got a little story about his dad. Do you know what I mean? From what my dad did.
Well, go ahead. Hit
But
us with it.
say again, sorry.
I said hit us with it.
So can I? Yeah. So my dad, when I was younger, there was this one action figure that I had. Well, I wanted, and it was like a pack of 6. Every single one I had, but this one was Umaga. So my dad being in the store, with arts, this was like when there was no like, I don't want to say security or anything, but my dad ripped the box open, got Umaga and put it in his pocket.
Okay.
And then he shouldn't have done that, but I was like a little kid and I wanted that Umaga. I was a massive fan of Umaga growing up. Massive fan. So then the fact that I've had his son on was incredible. But yeah, he definitely stands out, and it's remarkable that we're having the chance to talk to our heroes, growing up. And we're still doing it. It's like Dallas yesterday in the Hardys. And then you did a live stream for TNA yourself. Just think, 20, what did I do in this 24 hours? Do you know what I would say to you? What I'm doing at the moment? I would say for you, write down each day one thing you're most proud of. This is going off topic, but write down one thing that you're most proud of. Write down one thing that you learned, and then write down one thing that you want to improve.
I like it.
Do
It's
that
a good
every
idea.
day.
Okay.
Well, do that for 30 days, and then and then whether that's on your notes or something, but then see what you've done for the last 30 days. So like yesterday, one thing that you did, like that you're most proud of. 2 interviews with Hall of Famers, pretty
Yeah.
much. One thing, that you learn. I learned how to properly structure a podcast. Just maybe one thing that you want to improve on. Time management.
Maybe. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just write down. I've done that for the last 3 weeks, and I've learned a lot. And it clears the mind and everything as well.
Just out of curiosity, out of this 3-week span that you've done it, what would you say is the thing you're most proud of, thing you need to work on, and thing you've learned? Was that the last one?
Yeah. So one thing that I am proud of is taking my life back.
Okay.
And one thing that I've improved on is being calm, progression, and just don't take things serious.
Yeah.
And each day you will, as long as each day you're making progress, no matter what it is, you're winning.
Definitely.
And one thing that I need to learn, or why I've learned, is don't take life serious.
I like it.
Do you
I
know what I
like
mean?
that a lot. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something, I mean, really, like, it's become, like, kind of a running joke, when it comes to the podcast and, like, having like, I have my dad on and my brother and his friend, and that's something I guess we've kinda taken pride in, is not taking it 100% serious because, I mean, at the end of the day, we're just having fun, and, I mean, I've realized in this, if you take it too serious, you set an unrealistic standard for what you're supposed to be. And like with people in the industry, I've had to be very stern about. I'm not a journalist. I didn't go to school for this. This is something one day I picked up, and I've developed the skill to be decently good at it, and it's just happened. So like not taking it seriously and just having fun with it, I think is the what really make that's kind that might be the secret sauce. Earlier before we got on here, I mentioned the secret sauce and not knowing what it is. Um, just talking about it out loud and kind of getting it out there. I think that's it. Just being positive and not taking it seriously, but taking it. Obviously, you got to take it serious enough, but like not taking it
Yeah.
overbearingly seriously and just having fun, having a good time. Like
Be positive as well.
that, and that's especially. And like, I don't want to say anything bad about the wrestling community because I love it. It's my fan base is the wrestling community, but sometimes it's filled with so much negativity.
100%.
And I think it's just like I can't remember who I heard say this, but like realistically, if you look at it, it's probably 85% positive and 15% negative, but that 15% so loud that it almost outshines the 85%. Um, it's just being a part of that 85%. And I think, and you could probably contest to this, we've probably been pretty fortunate at weeding out the good and the bad, if I had to say.
I'd agree. I'd agree with you on that one. And they always say the bad always outweighs the good, which is bad, but the fact that some people have to post online negative things or their stupid opinions and hide behind a phone or keyboard is pathetic.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Just to flip it a little bit out of fun, to spice it up. Let's get back to some fun stuff. This is usually how I start the podcast, so I'm going completely off script. 20 minutes in, we are the I Love Wrestling podcast, and I always got to know, for one, how did you find wrestling, and what made you fall in love with it?
Good question. How did I discover it? So I was 6 years old. I want to say back at the end of 2006, early 2007. My dad and my grandma loved it, and which is weird, a combination. My dad and my grandma loved it. Yeah. So my dad put it on, and I got hooked to it. And obviously, we've been in the UK. I watched Raw and Smack. Well, it's more SmackDown every Friday night at 1 a.m. I used to stay up which is very unfortunate if you're in the UK. But I personally discovered it through my father, and then been hooked 20 years, which is mad. 20 years later. And what was the other question? Sorry.
Like what made you fall in love with it?
What made me fall in love with it? Just the characters. Like you mentioned, these people are larger than life. They're real people. But the characters, you can get invested behind a John Cena, gets knocked down 20 million times, but then gets back up for that one and wins. And just each person, if you look at each character in the WWE, they're different. Do you know what I mean? You've got Liv Morgan, you've got Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor. They're all different, but they are all really good. I think each wrestler, there's no shit wrestler, right? There's no such thing as a rubbish wrestler. I believe that if a professional wrestler gets a chance, they can shine. Whether that's singles, tag teams, breakup, they will shine. Given the right opportunity, the right chance, they will shine. I'll give one example. Look at Swerve Strickland, right? On the independent scene when he was in Lucha Underground, when he was smashing it in CZW and everywhere else. Then he went to WWE. He was all right. Don't get me wrong, he was all right. But you leave that place, you go to a big company. Well, WWE and AEW are still big companies, but you go to AEW, you jack yourself up, and you become a world champion. And I'll probably say, in the top 5 in the main event scene, like throughout.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, there's no such thing as a rubbish wrestler, in my opinion.
Okay.
They could do better, but they're not rubbish.
I like that. I like that viewpoint. I don't think a lot of people look through that lens when it comes to wrestling. So I commend you for bringing that to light, I guess. With that said, I didn't realize, for one, we were the same age or close to the same age. So that's fun. It makes me curious now because I grew up a huge Cena fan, which it go from Cena to Hardy to CM Punk, and the list goes on and on. Who really stood out to you growing up?
Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy. Okay. Uh, with that said, did you stay a Jeff Hardy fan, or did you, like, as time went on, I don't want to say latch onto somebody else, but grow to like somebody else instead, or was you always on the Hardy wagon?
I've always been on the Hardy wagon, but as I've grown up, it's changed. I think because we're all human, our opinions change all the time. So you've probably been a Cena fan, but then there's probably been like a time, say for example in 2013, 14, like where you think he's a bit stale,
Yeah,
then
he's
move to someone else. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
So I would say from 2006 to 2009, Hardy was, yeah,
yeah.
at the point, like, if he had stayed in WWE, and I think he said this before, he would have probably surpassed John Cena in merch selling, and I think he was at the time.
He definitely, yeah. If he
And
wasn't, then he was about to.
yeah, and when he went to TNA, he had his downfalls, but God, he was still a good wrestler.
I loved it. I loved every moment.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Immortal. I was, but I weren't.
It's weird, if you want me to be honest.
Yeah, it's weird because, yeah, that's probably a talk for another time. But Jeff's always been good. I'd say it went Jeff Hardy, CM Punk, AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, Jay White, and who's my favorite recently? Randy Orton. Randy Orton's just always like been throughout, but those are my top.
I like that list. A lot of similarities in our list. I'd probably say for me it was growing up, like my earliest memories, like early would be Hogan.
Oh, sorry. And Will Ospreay.
Osprey. Okay. So like I guess for me, earliest would be Hogan and then Cena. Hardy's always been like the one that like was there the whole time. Jeff Hardy has always been he's just always been my favorite. Um, and then it went to Punk and then AJ and then Omega. Um, and I'll be honest, I don't want to say I stopped having favorites. Then Cody was really interesting. Especially Ring of Honor, Cody. Really,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was about he was such a bad guy that I liked it. And I was going through a very interesting time in my teenage years coming into an adult. So I probably took inspiration in the wrong ways when it came to what I was watching and what I was intaking. But um, Cody was probably my last like favorite, and then I kind of grew out of favorites. Like now, I'll just watch a product, and I kind of like yourself enjoy it for the
Yeah.
most part. I guess Will Ospreay talk's always fun, and I like this debate because on the podcast, I've mentioned that like I have myself, Pops, my brother Nasty Nate, and his friend Mason. The two youngest, Mason and Nasty Nate, they love some Will Ospreay. They'll watch Will Ospreay all day. Me, it depends on the match and what he's doing. My
I
dad won't watch
disagree.
Will
I
Ospreay at
disagree.
all.
I disagree on that one.
Okay. Well,
Reason
we'll do it.
being, reason being, and
Go
I'll
ahead.
just sum it up quick. If you look at Ospreay in a tag match, if you look at Ospreay in a singles match, if you look at Ospreay in his last match before he got injured with the Death Riders and whoever he teamed up with, no matter
Mhm.
what match he's in, the match is good. If you're into Jeff Hardy, if you're into high flying spots like sequences, in fact, I'm going to give you three matches to watch. Right, Swerve and Ospreay versus the Bucks last year. Right,
Great match.
obviously Kenny and Ospreay, like any of them. There's two, any of them. And then there was one that happened locally for me in the UK, and I think if you can find it and get it, I think it's on YouTube. Robbie Eggs versus Will Ospreay,
Okay.
really good.
All right.
Then three matches, you should change your mind.
I've watched all but the Robbie X one, I believe.
That's a good one.
That's the only one I don't think I've watched in his list. My only, I won't ever say that he's had a bad match, because Ospreay puts on a hell of a show every time. The thing that throws me off, and I get wrestling's a risky business, but I've always felt like there's a safe way to do this, and there's a very dangerous way to do this, and for me, Ospreay goes over that line just too much sometimes. And this is my
Yeah.
problem with like watching AEW. Like, for one, like I really enjoy storyline in wrestling. And I'm not gonna say AEW doesn't have stories in wrestling at all, but sometimes I think they focus too much on how close can we make it to where it seems like we're gonna hurt ourselves to get ourselves over. Does that make sense?
The
How many
yeah,
times we gotta
I,
drop
I,
ourselves from our head, neck, back, or you know what I mean? I just think it's too much, especially when we
it,
look at guys that's had their careers shortened for those reasons, like Austin or Edge or Brian, like all these greats that's had their careers shortened because they made silly mistakes, and then you see
I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you an example. Would you rather watch wrestling where it looks, I'm not saying real, or would you rather watch? So, say for example, if you're going to throw me into the barricade, right?
Mhm.
But AEW do it like where they mean it, right?
Yeah.
Or would you rather have someone at WWE throw you into the barricade but run with you and then go, a little push? Do you know what I mean? Would you rather it look real?
I think there's a nice medium. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? I think it's just I guess personal preference.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's a safe way to do it and there's a non-safe way to do it, and I feel like AEW just needs to reel it in a little bit, just a little bit, and I think
Yep.
they'd be right where they need to be. Because
Okay.
I think the big thing that like for me that always I guess like just AEW is an example that hurts the product is the talent puts themselves at so much risk they get injured and then we don't see them. Like Osprey was on one hell of an upswing, and you got to think if he wasn't taking those unnecessary risks, we could probably see a lot more Will Osprey. Same with Jay White or Adam Cole or Kyle O'Reilly. I mean, Darby's always here and then gone, here and then gone. Uh, just there, I'm sure I'm missing some, but like, but you get what I mean. Like
Yeah,
the
I get what you mean.
unnecessary risks. I just think, for one, they shorten a career so much. Like you see that's why you see guys in WWE being able to wrestle into their 50s, and then you're going to see guys. What's the longevity for a Kenny Omega? Because you got to think he's in his late 30s, early 40s, and he's already talking about how much longer do I have. When you look at like LA Knight, who's in his mid 40s, I mean, obviously he still hasn't had that time to shine,
Yeah.
but LA Knight could go 10, 15 more years.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Kenny's not going to be able to do that because his body's not going to let him. And
Yeah.
I'd like to see more Omega, not less Omega.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And that's like my dad. Like he hasn't watched a lot of Japanese wrestling, so like he didn't get to see like Okada in his prime or even Nakamura in his prime. Like he didn't see those guys in their prime, and like he got to see NXT Nakamura, which was I think a close representation of what that was. But like Okada in AEW is nothing like Okada in New Japan. Same with Kenny. Like Kenny in New Japan was a different animal. And I respect some of these guys for coming over to the states and toning it down, because like we'll probably like if Nakamura would have continued his New Japan style for the last 10 years, who knows if he'd be in the same boat as like Tanahashi retiring, or same with Okada. Like, well, if Okada kept up that same pace over the last 3 to 5 years, would Okada be having that same question? Or like would we be asking how much longer do they have?
Good
So
question.
it always just raises the question of like risk outweighing the reward, I guess, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Um I don't know. I guess the best way to explain wrestling is we all have our flavor of ice cream. Mine, I do like a little vanilla, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
um, so I mean, just I am curious on a couple of things because I mean we brought up John Cena, we brought up AJ Styles, two guys that have recently retired. I'll start with Cena. What did you think of the overall of his retirement? And is there anything you would have changed, or would you have kept it the same?
I'd have changed everything.
Okay.
I would have. There's certain matches and moments that I would have kept in there,
Okay.
but he had 34 dates or 35, whatever it was, maybe. There is a lot more you could have done.
Okay.
And I'm not saying fight every week, but there is a lot more you could have done. I feel like the last 4 months, in fact, I'd say from since SummerSlam, I feel like it felt rushed.
I see that.
There's some things that just didn't get explained.
Like, out of
Why
curiosity.
have Logan Paul get 2 moments
Hmm.
with Cena when you could have had someone like a Carmelo Hayes or a Drew McIntyre or a fuck it, even Roman Reigns again,
Yeah,
or do you know what I mean? You could have had.
I see it.
Personally, I'd have had like people face him new.
Okay.
Trying to give them. I'm not saying win, but give them a chance to shine. Maybe have a 5-week open challenge or something. Do you know when he was challenged and he beat Cody at Mania? Cody should have not come back for about a month or something. I think he did not come back. Cena should have had like in my opinion, he could have done this. A heavyweight open challenge each week for 5 weeks, if he was there, or 4 weeks. And you could have had someone from NXT, TNA. You could have had Raw and SmackDown. You could have had someone there. I didn't feel like we needed a last time is now tournament neither. It's just some stuff didn't get explained. I'd have changed it. And you know what? I would have splashed the cash out to bring Adam Copeland back, even Edge, for one match. Favour for a favour.
Interesting. I don't know. I liked it, if you want me to be honest, which I'm probably in the minority when it comes to John Cena's retirement.
What did you like about it, though?
For one, if you want me to be honest, I thought the last time is now tournament itself, the ending, that concept I thought was really good because there's a way to promote those guys that we just talked about without having to put Cena through the learning curve of working with all these younger guys. Because you got for Cena, the way I've looked at it is for one, for these 30 some dates or how many matches he has to stay protected. So to keep him healthy for whatever outside obligations he has. So you got to put him with seasoned professionals. And I get you're in WWE, you're going to expect to be seasoned, but that's not always the case. Like, you just don't know. So, like, I thought that was a great way to showcase Carmelo Hayes and bring back Zack Ryder and just to get those pieces into play without putting Cena, like, right in the heat of the fire. I liked it a lot. I understand why they didn't do, like, open challenge right every one. I mean, as a heel, it wouldn't have made a lot of sense. I think realistically, the only thing I would have changed about the whole thing is the explanation for why he's heel. Because if the explanation was better,
15 years too late.
I think it would have made a lot more sense. And then the reason to turn back babyface, it wasn't, the moment was cool. The moment with Cody and him on SmackDown was really cool. And I liked the moment. But if you look at the overall, like, arc, I don't think it made a lot of sense. And I think they made up for it at SummerSlam because they ended up telling that story in the match. Because Cena starts it doing heelish things, and he continues doing heelish things throughout the match. By the end of it, Cody perseveres. So I honestly think, realistically, if they would have just moved that SmackDown promo and that SmackDown segment to, like, the SmackDown after SummerSlam, it'd have made so much more sense. Like, if you just had,
there's good and bad in there.
yeah, like if you just had the match and had them naturally turn Cena throughout a match, and then afterwards explain it, I think it would have done so much better.
I'd agree.
Everybody,
would you sorry, I do apologize.
You're good.
Is there anyone you would have changed that you faced?
Honestly, no. And the reasoning is like you brought up Drew and Carmelo Hayes and some of these other guys. I think not giving Drew that fires Drew up because Drew wanted it, and he said he wanted it. He pushed for it, and he didn't get it. Drew's character works in that aspect. When you don't give heel Drew McIntyre what heel Drew McIntyre wants, it fuels that motivation. I like it. Carmelo Hayes, for instance, I just don't know how well Carmelo Hayes' style would work with a 2025 John Cena. Now, maybe a 2015 Cena, it would have worked a lot better, but this is a 10-year older, 5 years, 6-year out of the ring Cena. It's a lot, like, it's just different.
I get what you mean.
I really enjoyed Logan Paul, and I'll explain why. I think working with Logan was somebody that was young enough that a lot of fans would say, maybe he wasn't ready, but I think Logan's proved that. You got to think in his third match, he's fighting Roman Reigns, and it might have been one of the best matches out of Roman's whole 1,000+ day reign, if we're being completely honest. If we look at the match that Cena and Logan had, it wasn't bad. It was it was a damn good match, if we're going to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just don't like Logan because of his outside stuff, which I'm not like. I've watched Impulsive and I've seen his vlogs and stuff like that. And I'm not a fan of everything he does. I'm not a fan of all his opinions. I'm not a fan of all his endeavors. But we can't deny, as a heel in the wrestling business, Logan Paul in 2025, 2026 is probably a top tier heel. Like I'd
I'd agree with
argue
you.
he's up there with MJF. I would
He is.
argue that all day long, and I think he deserved that spot because now look at him. He's in the vision. It makes sense. He's a full-time guy, and that's something he explains, like in podcasts and in interviews. Cena helped him guide him there. Like, hey, if you're gonna take this seriously, you got to be here every week, and Logan's done that. So without Cena, we wouldn't, like, who knows what Logan's future looks like. And I'm excited to see him change our minds. And
Okay.
without that story and without that angle and without that time, it wouldn't have happened. I like the Ron Cena stuff. I know a lot of people, like, I think they should have done some things differently. Like I've talked about it on the podcast, for instance. I thought it would have been cool if he beat, like, if Ron Cena beat him at Saturday Night's Main Event. And then they fight the next SmackDown and Cena can win it back. And then we get the Never Seen 18. And Ron Cena gets his one WWE title reign. And it validates the whole thing. I think, like, there's little things you could have tweaked that would have made it a little better. I think wrestling fans are too critical on what we watch sometimes. Like,
Definitely.
sometimes I think we forget to just enjoy it, and we're like, no, we could change this. If I was doing it, I'd have did this. I think if we just sit back and consume, we'd probably enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah.
I have to ask about AJ Styles. For one, what did you think about the last feud with Gunther? And do you think he's done?
I get the reason why they've done it with Gunther, but I don't like why. Do you know what I mean? For me, it's nice if someone goes. I mean, it was a good match. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. I love Gunther. I love AJ Styles, but for me, it's got to be the right. It's like Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. He wanted to face Cena. You need,
You
for
think
me,
it'd
if
be
someone's
Baron
gonna,
Corbin?
if someone, yeah, if someone's gonna be retire, it needs to be right
Okay.
and it needs to fit. AJ Styles is not done. He's just done in WWE.
Okay. I agree with the second part. I think Gunther's perfect. And I'll explain why. I think if we look at Gunther's entire WWE run, he's always been champion, whether it's in the NXT UK, whether it's the Intercontinental title, whether it's his 2 reigns with the world title. I think, like, when he was world champion, they hit with the crazy statistic, like 80% of Gunther's career, he's had gold, which is crazy. I think right now in wrestling, we have a lot of wrestlers ready to retire or take a break or whatever, like Goldberg, like Cena, like Styles. There's rumors of, like, Rey Mysterio and Brock Lesnar. Like, if they're willing to go out and they're willing to go out on their back or on their sword or however you want to put it, why not piss the world off by feeding them to the next big heel in Gunther, and we're just gonna hate him for it.
Mm,
And so
yeah.
he did his job.
Mhm. It's a weird one because you said Rey Mysterio there.
Mhm.
Gunther shouldn't do it. Dom should.
Look, I agree with that 100%. That's something I think it should be mask versus hair. I think Dom should beat him, and Dom should get the mask. And I
Yeah,
think Dom should wear it.
and it's like and it's like who else did you say? People are getting breaks, right? People are getting old and on and stuff like that. But for WWE, they need to create new stars. They are, but they're not. a Cena level. They're not a Orton level. They're not a Lesnar level that would bring in names. Don't get me wrong. Trick Williams is good and he's
He's not a
amazing,
star.
but it's not. He's not on the par of a Cena that would bring in an audience. But so the way you can't keep having Gunther take all these people. It's like Randy Orton. Randy Orton's in the best shape of his life. He's not going to go anywhere in the next 2 years.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
weird one because some wrestlers fit, but with Gunther, but I wouldn't. There's some wrestlers I couldn't see happening. I could see him taking Lesnar's probably at SummerSlam.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's all but written. When they said it was in Minnesota, I think we all got to assume Brock's done.
Yeah,
I don't know the other reason. The only reason I think you bring Brock back is to ultimately just give him an actual retirement, which I think he
yeah,
could have left it at the Cody thing, especially after everything that happened. But if you want to give him a run, like everybody didn't like the fact that he just squashed Cena. And I didn't like it at first either until I listened to Cena's explanation. I listened to Cena talk about it, I think, on Cody's podcast. And Cena just explained, like, look, Brock now destroyed John Cena, who just made history and was going on this farewell tour. Now, whoever beats Brock next, that elevates them because Brock beat me. So now whoever beats Brock is better for that reason. And I was like, that, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And if Gunther's that guy, I think it's kind of like when Brock beat the Streak. Brock didn't need that. Gunther doesn't need to take all these heads and put them on his mantle. But if we does, we're gonna hate him. We're gonna hate him so much.
true.
And I think that's the goal, is to make us hate Gunther to where maybe we see him as the level of heel as like a Brock Lesnar. Like if he's taking
Yeah,
out all our greats, you can't argue with it. I mean, that's better. That's a better legend killer gimmick than Randy Orton. Orton didn't end these people's career. He just kicked them in the head. Gunther's literally taking careers in front of us, and it could be a generational run.
very true.
And like when you talk about stars, like I'd argue Cody. First and foremost, I'd argue Cody Rhodes is on his way to being there. If you look at the reactions he's got over the last 3 or 4 years, incredible. He's in movies now. He's getting there, and he's still young. So Cody, I'd argue. Um, I think when you look at guys like Braun Breaker, they're so close to getting to that next level. And I mean, we still got Seth and we still got Roman. And these guys are going to be there for probably the next 5-10 years, give or take. And those guys are still going to elevate new talent. And I think we got to look at like Obafemi and Ricky Saints and Ethan Page. Like all these guys are just on the verge of being stars. It's just a matter of what you do with them.
I'd agree with you on that one. I don't know if you might not agree with me on this next opinion though. I would say
Okay.
the women are better than the men at the moment.
Absolutely. Hands
Okay.
freaking down. I think that's where the star power is right now. If you look at Rhea
Yeah.
Ripley and Liv Morgan, Stephanie Vaquer, even bringing back the Bellas, I think was a really good idea. Tiffany Stratton, um, Jade. I know a lot of people have crapped on her online. I I think she's very well protected, and I think it's smart because you can make her a big star. She's got a lot of mainstream exposure, which she had before she got there. I think WWE's doing the right thing and capitalizing on it. Um, if we look at even like, uh, shoot, and blanking, I had something on Naomi. If you look at Naomi before her pregnancy, I think a lot of people would assume that she was on the back end of her career, but with this new caution, proceed with caution gimmick, she's really changed that. I could see her going another 10 years. Um,
Yeah.
I just, I think the women's division is really carrying right now, and it's really cool to see because we haven't seen that ever really, other than maybe some people would say like 2019 when the man Becky Lynch made her rise, but I wasn't a fan of that. If you want me to be honest, I think Becky's way overhyped. If you want me to be very honest, I liked Ronda, which I probably in the minority there that liked Ronda Rousey, but I thought Rousey brought star power that WWE hadn't seen, especially in the women's division, in a long time.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part, I guess, about the women's division right now? Like, is it just the talent, or is it the stories? Like, what makes you believe that they're the stronghold?
Star power and just matches. I'd say it's weird because it depends what you like. Because in AEW, they also have a really solid women's division.
They do underutilized, but solid.
Yeah, but it depends who you look at though. Because, but, and it's how you, they have got a lot of people. It's like WWE, they've got a lot of people as well. And there's only like, say for example, 6 hours or maybe 7 hours of TV a week. AEW only has half of that.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's including Ring of Honor as well. No, 6 hours maybe with Ring of Honor. But the women do. I feel like AEW last year showcased the women a little bit better than WWE.
I'd argue that. I
Reason
think.
being
Go
is
ahead.
because just the matches. Do you know what I mean? They put like main events in with women and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
just they would test. AEW was testing the women last year, and it doesn't need to be a violent match, even though they did blood and guts and all that stuff. But there was a lot of first time ever. I think there was like a solid month and of where the women dominated in AEW last year.
Okay. I don't. I think for me
Both are good though.
personally, both are incredible. I'll just throw that out there first. I think what hurt AEW in the women's division, for one, I'm gonna say it is Mercedes Monet, how they booked her to beat everyone, and I mean unless it's Tony Storm or Chris Statlander, um,
Yeah,
or or not Will Ospreay, Willow Nightingale. Like, but even Willow, she had to earn that. I think it hurt losing Mariah May.
definitely.
I also think it hurt taking Tony out of the women's world title picture. Uh, I love Timeless Tony Storm. It's probably my favorite women's character, arguably of all time. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoy
Okay.
it. Um, I just like right now seeing her with Orange Cassidy. It's a cool idea. It's entertaining, but like I think where she really shines is being the champ. And she's one of those rare characters that her holding the title elevates everybody else because they got to chase her. And right now I don't think Chris Statlander was ready. I know she's fought for it for a long time, but just because you fought for it for a long time doesn't mean you're ready. Um, Same with like even Willow beating Mercedes. I know I said like Mercedes kind of being Mercedes Hogan over there wasn't a good thing, but like I don't think Willow was ready, and I think Willow's incredible, but is she ready to beat somebody the caliber of Mercedes Monet? I don't think so. And
True.
I think they're missing star. Like if we talk about star power, I think in the women's division, that's the one thing they're lacking. And they had some people that you could consider stars when you look at like Thunder Rosa, or I mean, they lost Mariah May, Britt Baker. You got Deanna Perrazzo. These were women that all over the place did really good and were at the top of their divisions. And then in AEW, what really have they done? They lost Paige or Soraya. I think that was a hit. I know everybody like you look at like the crowd and the reaction. Everybody booed her, but she got a reaction. That's important. And in WWE, I think it's the opposite. I see pretty much every woman on that roster get a reaction. every single one,
Yeah.
down to like Ivy Nile, and I like her. She's great, but like if we're looking at like the spectrum of the hierarchy in the women's division, Ivy's probably on the lower end of that, but she gets a probably a bigger pop than some of the AEW women. Um,
Yeah.
Somebody like Maxine Dupree. I'm a huge fan of Dupree, mainly because it's different, it's entertaining. She reminds me of Kurt, like a young Kurt Angle,
Yeah.
because Kurt was always funny and corny, but he once he got in the ring, he delivered. And she's not like flawless. Like what she does looks a little like clunky and like it's not like it doesn't flow all the way. And I think that's what's missing in wrestling's a little bit. Is like it's supposed to look like a fight, and she looks like she's fighting to make this shit happen. And I love it so much.
Yeah, it's good.
As just to jump back into some podcast talk before I get you off here. Um, just out of curiosity, we've talked about your favorite guests. Um, is there a guest that you've almost gotten that you was this close and something made it not happen? Obviously, you don't have to divulge what made it not happen, but was there an almost? Have you had an almost before?
Stephanie Vaquer.
Okay, interesting. Do you want to explain? If not, it's fine.
Going back and forth about via emails.
Uh-huh.
Was about to set a date, but then signed.
Okay. Fun story. I guess. Well, on that note, I almost got Hogan right before he passed. My cousin lives down in Jacksonville, which Hogan was doing his Real American Beer Tour, promoting his beer or whatever. And I sent like I put together like a promo pretty much explaining the podcast, the vision behind it, success, what we could do to help collaborate and help promote and things like that. And I sent it to my cousin, him, my uh, his wife, who's my other cousin, and my niece. No, it wouldn't be my niece. My other cousin, their daughter, all went, and they met Hogan. They met Jimmy Hart. They handed it to both of them. Jimmy took it, and Hogan was like, "Look, I'll give this to my guy, and we'll get in touch." And like literally 2 weeks later, he passed. So like it was so close.
Makes you realise because you could have been like one of the last ever to have a conversation with Hogan, like via interview.
It was well, and with that said, like I was one of the last interviews for Sabu, which was one of my first. I think it was like my 19th episode, so very early one. Probably the first name to give me a chance, and it was just crazy how it happened. But like that happened in November. Come April or May, he's gone. And like Sabu didn't do a lot of. He did some media stuff for like GCW and Janela and all of them for his final match. But other than that, he didn't do much media at all. So like I'm a small handful that was afforded the opportunity to talk to Sabu, I guess podcast wise before he passed. And that's like one of those things that I'll always treasure. Like that'll be something that I guess nobody can ever take away.
That's good, man.
As we kind of weed our way through 2026, we're what, February? Yeah, February 6th. As we record this, what are some of your goals for the year? Like, where do you want to see the podcast and even maybe yourself personally by the end of the year?
There's a few people that I would love to have on, and I'm chasing this guest, and I want it to happen before I eventually do ever call it quits from podcasting. I want an interview with Thunder Rosa.
Okay.
I want an interview, whether that's a podcast, even if I have 5 minutes. That'll be the best 5 minutes I've ever had.
Okay.
Because I am a massive, massive, massive fan of hers.
Gotcha.
I'd even love to interview Harley Cameron.
Harley Cameron's excellent. I love
just the character. And I would, if we're on about like males, the hot Jeff Hardy. I'm jealous that you've had the chance to do it twice.
You'll get the opportunity, I'm sure. It's a matter
Touch
of time.
wood. Yeah. What do I want to see? 5,000 subscribers, I'm guessing. It's doable, I guess.
Okay. It's
But
look, it
guest
just
by guest.
it's guest by guest, and it's I don't want to say the luck of the draw, but it's opportunity. Taking
Yeah.
advantage. If I could credit anything to the success, I guess, of ILWPOD, it's been taking advantage of opportunities. And something I've recently learned, and this is actually through doing research for my DDP interview, is just he talks a lot about the ability to say no, like never go into a negotiation not willing to walk out of it empty-handed and saying no. And that's something that has definitely helped my success. Is not every opportunity is a good opportunity, so weeding those out has been detrimental to the success of the podcast. Um, but it's all in due time. It's just like I said, taking advantage of the opportunities, and they'll be given. I think from what I've seen, you're on the right path. I like your style, your interview style. Your thumbnails are really cool. I like those. Um, the body slam collaboration or connection is interesting, and I'm very curious to see how that goes. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Um,
Appreciate that.
you're doing your thing, man, for sure. Just to give you some rub, I guess. Uh,
Nice.
with that said, before I let you go, I know we did at the beginning, but you want to plug any upcoming podcasts you have, your socials, just in case for some reason they had us muted or something stupid at the beginning.
So I have upcoming interview with the Killer Goat, which is known as Killer Kelly and Myron Reed.
I love it.
But Billy Stocks has just dropped probably like an hour and a half now. So go and check that out. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, man. As I told you before this, the door's open for collaboration. Let's do some more of these. This was very fun, very entertaining. Can't wait to see the result. Thank you, first and foremost. And with that said, I leave the door open for part 2.
Definitely, man. Always definitely would love to come back and have you on mine as well.
Of course. I guess the easiest way to leave this out is see you next time.